verse 17. And whatsoever ye do in word or deed, do all in the name of Bahashem Hamashiach Yahweh, giving thanks to Yahweh and Abanawa by him. Okay, so we do everything in word or deed, all in the name of the Father and Hamashiach. That's everything. That's our whole life summed up in one. Everything we do is for him, for his sake. Okay, we don't walk around with pride or anger or hatred, any of that for that matter, but everything is done through him. Okay, so from that point, we're going to get into the topic. And the topic is the people in the land. Alright, so I'm going to go to Genesis chapter 2. Let's go to Genesis chapter 2, verse 2 and 3. It says, And on the seventh day, the Most High ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And the Most High blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which the Most High created and made. So here we have. So here we have, and brothers and sisters, you can actually put your phone on mute, you know, that way it doesn't interrupt the conference call. All right, so basically what the Most High is saying here, on the Sabbath day he rested. So this is a very important day, and this is within his land. Okay? Hey, Jamar? Jamar, can you hear me? Okay, so on this day he rested. So he's resting in his land. That land is very important that he created. Okay? Actually, this is the whole earth that he created. Okay? So the Garden of Eden was a place within a place. So when he created the earth, that was one thing. When he created the Garden of Eden, that was another. Okay? Genesis 2 and verse 7. Let's go there. So it says here, And the Most High formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Okay? So he said he formed him out of the dust of the ground. We all know that, right? And breathed into him the breath of life. That breath of life is what? That's the commandments. Okay? So outside of the Garden of Eden, he formed man out of the ground. Okay? Because it's going to explain it. Okay? Outside of the garden where he formed it. Look at this. And it says, And the Most High planted a garden eastward in Eden. So this was aside from where he created Adam. You see that? This was aside from where he created Adam. And there he put the man whom he had formed. You see that? So he took Adam and put him in the Garden of Eden from outside the earth. This place was a special place that he put him in. Okay? So when he created Adam, did he just create one Adam when it was outside the Garden of Eden? No. Let's go to Genesis 5, verse 1 and 2. Genesis 5, verse 1 and 2. It says here, This is the book of the generations of Adam. Okay? In the day that the Most High created man, in the likeness of the Most High made he him. Alright? So, in the likeness of the Most High created he him. So how did he create him in his likeness? His spirit. Okay, we have emotions, we have the spirit of thinking, we have a spirit of speech, we have things that animals don't have. Okay, we have the spirit of understanding. So he created us in the likeness of the Most High. Okay, it says male and female created he them. So why does it say them? Because Adam, that is a plural word, Adam. Okay. Adam was called, the woman and the man were both called Adam. They were one. Okay? So it says, man and female created he them, and blessed them, and called their name Adam. See that? In the day when they were created. So they were created Adam together. Okay? So if you have your Apocrypha, if many of you brothers and sisters know what the Apocrypha is, The Apocrypha is a book that was actually in the King James Version that was taken out. It was taken out by the, what's the name of the church group? I can't think of their name. But they purposely took out the Apocrypha because this is the missing link to the Bible. This has not only the book of Ezra 3 and 4, not only Ecclesiasticus, but it also has the book of Maccabees, which is the Greek captivity. Because when you read the Bible itself, without the Apocrypha, it stops at Malachi, and that was the end of the Persian captivity. So at the end of the Persian captivity, you go to Matthew and it jumped to Romans. Okay, in Matthew, the Romans were controlling Jerusalem at that time. So what's missing? The Greek captivity. So that's where you will find it in the book of Maccabees. So that's how we know that they removed this out of the book. And the whole reason being is because that is the abomination of desolation that's mentioned in Matthew 24 and Daniel 11. That's what's missing, and that's why the churches can't figure it out. In the Christian churches, they don't know what the abomination of desolation is. It's talking about the Greek captivity, those who come from that line of people. The Greeks, the Edomites, okay, they're the ones who actually are the abomination of desolation. Wherever they go, they abominate the temple of the Most High. The temple, the tabernacle, which is us. Okay? So let's go back to Genesis 5, 1 and 2. Alright, so it said that he created them, right? Let's start at verse 2. Male and female created he them, and blessed them, and called their name Adam, in the day when they were created. So let's find out if what I'm saying is true. Let's go to the Apocrypha. Let's go into the Apocrypha. Let's go to 2nd Ezra, chapter 3, verse 4. Second Ezra, chapter 3, verse 4.
Eileen.
Hello?
You're alive.
Okay, this is 2nd Ezra, chapter 3, verse 4. It says, O my power who bearest rule, thou speakest at the beginning, when thou didst plant the earth, and that thyself alone, and commandest the people. Okay, so it's talking about a people here, right? So let's read the next verse. And gave us a body unto Adam. So why is it saying he commanded the people before Adam even showed up? Okay, because they were all Adamites. You ever wonder where Cain got his wife from? He said that Cain went into the east of Nod. There were people on earth. There were people who were living outside the Garden of Eden. Okay? It says here, and gave us a body unto Adam without soul. So these people who were called Adamites, they didn't have any souls. Why? Because they didn't have any commandments in them. He didn't breathe the breath of life in them. Now, the churches believe that the breath of life is just the wind that's blown into your body so you can walk and talk. But the breath is the commandments, walking in the light of the Most High. Okay? And so one man out of that Adamites, one man out of the Adamites did that, kept those commandments. Just like Abraham, just like Noah, just like King David, all the way down to the 12 tribes of Israel. I mean, from Jacob down to the 12 tribes of Israel to King David. Okay? So it says, and gave us a body unto Adam without soul, which was the workmanship of thine hands, because he made him, and didst breathe into him the breath of life, and he was made living before thee. And thou leddest him into paradise. You see that? So it's telling you in the 6th verse that he led that particular Adam where? Into the Garden of Eden, into paradise, which thy right hand had planted before ever the earth came forward. And unto him thou gavest commandments to love thy way. See, Adam, this is the gift that Adam got. That one particular Adam. Okay? And unto him thou gavest commandment to love thy way, which he transgressed. And immediately thou appointest death in him and his generations. Okay? Of whom came nations, tribes, peoples, and kindreds out of number. So this is where this is where we get people that come into the understanding, when they read the Bible, they don't understand how is there so many other people on the earth. They think the line just came out of Cain and came out of Abel, which Abel had no children. Okay? So Cain had children and Seth had children? No, there was other people on the earth. That's where Cain got his wife from. He married into a soulless beast. Okay? A soulless human being. That's why they were so wicked. Alright? So let's go back to Genesis. Hold on a second here. Yeah, let's go back to Genesis 2 and 7. Let's read that breath of life again. Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. And the Most High formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. See that? And man became a living soul. So he became a living soul when the breath of life went in him. And that's the commandments. Okay? So we'll go from there. We'll go to, we'll read 2nd Ezra 5 and 7 again, so you get to understand it. And gave a body unto Adam without soul, which was the workmanship of thine hands, and didst breathe into him the breath of life, and he was made living before thee. And thou leddest him into paradise, which thy right hand had planted before ever the earth came forward. So what you have to look at is, before Adam even went into the Garden of Eden, he had to do something. What did he have to do? He had to learn the commandments. So for us to go back to Israel, what do we have to do? Same thing. We have to learn the commandments in order to go back into that land. So we're not going to go just believing in Jesus or Yahushua. That's not going to happen. You got to believe, and it's two parts. You got to keep his commandments. That's how we're going to get redeemed from this place called the United States. That's how we're going to come out of it, by keeping the commandments. All right. So let's go. Genesis. Let's go Genesis 2 and 22. Let's find out when Eve got ordained. Okay, because it just showed you that Adam and Eve were both called Adam. So let's go to Genesis 2. Verse 22. It says here, and the rib which the Most High had taken from man made he a woman, and brought her unto the man. Why do you have to bring her to the man if she came from his rib? She would have been laying right next to him, right? It makes no sense. It says, and the Most High brought her unto the man, just like he said he brought Adam into paradise, meaning he had to walk him into there. Okay. So he brought her unto the man. So let's find out what that rib means. Okay, let's find out what that rib means. What does that rib mean? So there's several verses that prove that rib is something else. It's not just what you know, a rib from your side. That makes no sense. So I think there's a precept in 1 Samuel 5 and 19. Let me go there real quick. 1 Samuel. First Samuel, actually I'll start at 5. Let's see. Maybe it's 2 Samuel. Alright. Yeah, here it is. This is 2 Samuel 5 and 1. Then came all the tribes of Israel to David unto Hebron, and spoke, saying, behold, we are thy bone and thy flesh. So this is the children of Israel. When we deal with our own kind, that's our people. The rib only means your people. That's what it means. It doesn't mean that he took a rib from the side. What it meant was Eve was keeping the laws too. She was out of that line that Adam came out of, and she was chosen as the one to be with him. That was his rib. All right.
Well, where was that?
2 Samuel 5 and 1.
Second.
Okay.
Okay.
And there's also another one. I believe it's in Judges, if I can remember. I believe it's Judges that talks about Gilead, his wife. He chose a wife, and he said, "You are flesh of my flesh and bone of my bone. And she came from his kindred. So that's what that means. So Eve was brought to Adam because she believed in the same thing that he believed in. On top of that, she was of his kind. Okay. So we'll go from there. Let's go to Genesis 3:20. So the whole point is showing you that we have to keep the laws in order to come into the land. You see, the way the scriptures is laid out, the Most High laid it out in such a form of like a code. Everything is cold. It's like a puzzle. And if you can't see what's impacted in one verse and being able to precept that off another verse, you won't get it. That's the mystery. He did that for the main reason of confusing our enemies. How else could, if he wrote this book out like a novel, our enemies would understand it too. They would know the next move. But the way he wrote it like this because this was meant for a future generation. When you read Psalms 102:18, he says, this will be written for a future generation which is not created. That would be us. We're that future generation. You don't see the people over in Israel today going precept for precept, line for line. They don't do that. You know, they try, but when you look at the precepts in your Bible that they have written, it never matches completely. You know, you always find something that's off. Like, that don't match. You know, because they don't know. It's a spiritual thing. They don't know how to do that. They're carnal. Okay? So let's go from there. Where we leave off at? Genesis 3:20. So let's go to Genesis, 2nd Ezra in the Apocrypha again. Chapter 3, verse 7. 2nd Ezra, chapter 3, verse 7. Alright, 3 and 7. It says, and unto him thou gavest commandments to love thy way, which he transgressed, and he immediately thou appointest death in him, and in his generations, of whom came nations, tribes, peoples, kindreds out of number. Verse 8. And every people walked after their own will, and did wonderful things before thee, and despised the commandments. So that's how you know that the earth was starting to get wicked, more and more wicked, when they start transgressing the commandments. Okay? Genesis 3:22. Genesis 3:22. We're going to read to the 24th verse. Genesis 3:22. And the Most High said, behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil. And now lest he put forth his hand, and take also of the tree of life, and eat and live forever. Therefore the Most High sent him forth from the Garden of Eden, to till the ground from whence he was taken. So it's telling you where he came from. It said to till the ground from whence he was taken. It's telling you where he came from originally. He didn't come from the Garden of Eden. He was taken from the wilderness outside of the Garden of Eden. Do you all see that? That's what people don't understand. Adam and Eve were not created in the Garden of Eden. They were created outside of the Garden of Eden. And the Most High is doing us the same way. This is how we're going to get back there. This is how we're going to get back to Israel. Okay? So let's go from there. Deuteronomy 32, verse 8 and 10. This is important, man, because our people, man, they don't see with spiritual eyes. See, there's two forms of eyes. You got physical eyes and you got spiritual eyes. You know, our people don't see. It's just like being here in California. We living in the desert. Have you guys ever noticed that? We're in the desert. Every tree in California comes from somewhere else. None of these trees belong here. They all been brought, and they look half dead. You look at the trees, they half living, half dead. They're not really at their full capacity. They're not green. You see the cows, they're not even eating green grass. They eating brown hay, basically brown weeds. You know? So the brown weeds don't have any nutrients, and these cows are eating it, and then you kill the cow, slaughter, and you eat it. What nutrients can you get from cows eating brown grass, which is considered hay? You know? Animals that eat green things, there's lots of vitamins, minerals in that grass. Things that may have died go in that earth, and then it comes up through the nutrients. That's why fish are very important when you make plant in the garden, because the nutrients of the fish come up through the produce, okay, which gives you vitamins and minerals. Very important. Okay, so Deuteronomy 32 verse 8 and 10. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. For the Most High's portion is his people. Jacob is the lot of his inheritance, and the inheritance is that of that earth, the land that we're going to get. So he chose us from the beginning. That when he created Adam and Adam sinned, he knew right off the bat that Israel was going to have to come through him. Okay? He already knew. Originally it was made for Adam and Eve, but once he sinned, everything changed. Everything. So the Most High was searching and shopping around for a new people. Okay? Let's go from there to, let's go to 2 Ezra 24, verse 8. 2 Ezra 24, verse 8. Oh, I'm sorry. I say 2 Ezra 24. Don't want that. Hold on 1 second here. 2 Ezra 5:27. That's what I want. 2 Ezra chapter 5. We're in the Apocrypha. 2 Ezra chapter 5 verse 27. And among all the multitudes of people thou hast gotten thee one people, and unto this people whom thou lovest thou gavest a law that is approved of all. So the Most High, he's only dealing with one people. So the Christians, they don't know what they're talking about. So he's dealing with one people. You see? Okay, so I'm going to read verse 28. And now, O power, why hast thou given this one people over unto many? That's a question mark. And upon the one root hast thou prepared others. And why hast thou scattered thy only one people among many? That's us. We've been scattered among every nation. Look here in America, every nation is here. It's considered the melting pot. And we're the only people who have been brought here against our will. The only people on the whole planet have been brought here against our will. If you can't tell me we ain't the children of Israel, I don't know who we are. Okay? It says here, and upon the one root hast thou prepared others, and why hast thou scattered thy only one people among many? Nobody else has been scattered among many like us. And they which did gainsay thy promises and believe not thy covenants have trodden them down. That's all the nations around us. You say you're an Israelite. Oh no, you ain't no Israelite. You couldn't possibly be a Jew. That's what they say. Trodden down. We bring out the law, statutes, and commandments, and they look at us like we crazy, like we from another planet, which we really are. Okay. This is, if thou didst so much hate thy people, yet shouldest thou punish them with thine own hands. You see. So I was telling you, the scriptures back up what we're going through. Everything that we're going through, the scriptures back up. And that's what we have to understand when we read the scriptures. We have to understand that the Most High gives us clues throughout this Bible that this is us. And with doubt, you cannot have doubt. That's why you have to pray to the Most High that you have not unbelief. Because with unbelief, he ain't going to do nothing for you. Okay? There was cities that Yahushua Hamashiach went into where people didn't even believe that he was the Hamashiach. And because they didn't believe, he didn't do no works in that city. None. Matter of fact, I'll show you as we go on what he did. Okay, so let's go back. Where were we? In 2 Ezra. Let's go to Genesis 12 and 1. Let's find out what our forefather, how he was blessed behind this. By following the Most High. Genesis chapter 12 and 1. Now, O power, has said unto Abram, get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house unto a land that I will show you. Now, didn't he do Adam like that? He did Adam the same way. He told Adam to go into the Garden of Eden. He put him in the Garden of Eden. So here he is talking to Abraham, and doing the same thing with him. Okay? So let's go to 6. Drop down to 6 and 7. And Abram passed through the land unto the place of Shechem, unto the plain of Moreh, and the Canaanites was then in the land. So they were in our land, the Canaanites. And the Most High appeared unto Abram and said, Unto thy seed will I give this land. And there built he an altar unto the Hamashiach, who appeared unto him. Because the Most High never appeared to anyone. Get that through your minds. Most High has never appeared to no one on the earth except for his son, Hamashiach. Okay? Hamashiach was the one that appeared all throughout the scriptures. That's why it says, Psalms 48 and 8 and Hebrews 10 and 7, I come in the volume of the book. It is written of me. It was him that showed up. It was him that led us through the Red Sea. It was him. The Most High sent him down to do that work. To always get that understanding. When you read 1 Corinthians 10 and 1, let's get that real quick. Let me show you. 1 Corinthians 10 and 1, it tells you that it was him. And it's right here in the New Testament, and Christians can't understand that. It says, Moreover, brethren, I would not that ye should be ignorant, how that all our fathers were under the cloud, and all passed through the sea. That was when we left Egypt. And were all baptized unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea. How were they baptized? That water. They went through the sea of water. That's how they all got baptized. And did all eat the same spiritual meat. See, they all ate the same thing. And did all drink the same spiritual drink. For they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them. And that rock was Hamashiach. That rock was Christ. You see? So he was there in the beginning. He was there with the Most High. He was there that took us out of the land of Egypt. And he came on the earth in human flesh through Joseph's seed through Mary. And brought us everlasting, and brought us repentance so we could repent and get everlasting life. And this was only brought to the children of Israel. You know? But he was that rock. That's why when you read Deuteronomy 32, it talks about he was the rock that sold us. Okay? In Deuteronomy 32, it said that he was that rock that sold us. Can you believe that? He sold us. How you gonna get mad at somebody that sold you to the Edomites? He sold us. We mad at the Edomites, but it's him that sold us. Remember, he put us by Esau. He put us by him. Okay? You can't forget that. Look at 2nd Ezra. Look at 2nd Ezra chapter 3. 2nd Ezra chapter 3 verse 16. It says, and see, what we got to understand is the Most High always putting us somewhere. He put Adam in the garden. He put Abraham outside of that land. He said, get thee out of the land of your fathers. He put Eve in the Garden of Eden. Okay? Now watch what he said about us. This is somebody we can't get away from. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 3. What did I say? 2nd Ezra 3 and 16. And unto him thou gavest Isaac, and unto Isaac also thou gavest Jacob and Esau. So Esau and Jacob were brothers. As for Jacob, thou didst choose him to you, and put by Esau. See where he put us by? You wonder why we can't get away from Esau? He put us by Esau. Marcus Garvey tried to get us away from here. We couldn't get away. Martin Luther King tried to get us away. He actually put us closer to Esau. Malcolm tried to get us away, but he put us right by Esau. We can't go nowhere. There's certain people in your life the Most High put you by, like your father and your mother, your brothers, your sister. He put you by them. You can't get away. You know, there's certain things that you have to understand how the Most High works. Certain people in life you just can't get away from. He put you right by them, or he put them right by you. It says, and put by Esau. And so Jacob became a great multitude. Because if you look at that verse, it says, and Jacob became a great multitude. That's talking about today too. Here amongst Esau, we are becoming a great multitude. When we went amongst Ishmael, because he could have said, and put by Ishmael, Isaac and Ishmael were brothers, remember? Before Jacob and Esau. He could have said, put by Ishmael, but when Ishmael took us into slavery, he was castrating our men. So we couldn't reproduce. You see? So how are we going to become a great multitude in the land of Saudi Arabia when he's castrating the men? It's impossible. But here, around Esau, it says, and so Jacob became a great multitude. We are multiplying here in America. Right around Esau. Europe, right around Esau. China, Japan, right around, that's China, those Chinese, those are still Edomites. They've been washed over by Genghis Khan, which was an Edomite, who raped most of those women over there. That's why they got the lighter shade. But the Chinese and the Japanese were originally dark people. Okay? The Moabites and the Ammonites.
Has left the conference.
So, as we go on, we'll see how the saying that Moab and Ammon are not there. They're still there. That country is predominantly them, but Esau has gotten in there. Okay? Esau has gotten in there. So Esau, he's there. He's in Europe. What did the scriptures say? For Esau, it says, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. If you look at China, aren't they trying to be the next big time rulers? They think that they're going to rule the earth. That's Esau in reverse.
Right.
Okay? So, let's go from there to Genesis 6 and 7. I read 6 and 7, right? Let me read verse 7 again.
No, you didn't read 6 and 7.
Genesis chapter 12.
Read.
Okay, I'll read it. Genesis chapter 12, verse 6. And Abram passed through the land unto the place of Shechem, unto the plain of Morah. And the Canaanites was then in the land. And the Most High appeared unto Abram and said, unto thy seed will I give this land. And there builded he an altar unto the Most High, who appeared unto him, unto Hamashiach, who appeared unto him. Okay? So I read that. So let's go from there. Let's go to Genesis 24, 3 and 8. Genesis chapter 24, verse 3. And I will make thee swear by the Hamashiach of the Most High of heaven, and the Most High of the earth, that thou shalt not take a wife unto my son of the daughters of the Canaanites, amongst whom I dwell. So this is getting into Abraham. Remember how Adam had received Eve, a bone of his bone, flesh of his flesh? Okay? And how in 2 Samuel chapter 5 it talks about how the children of Israel came together, all 12 tribes, which are bone of their bone, flesh of their flesh. Now Abram is talking to his servant, his manservant, and they're trying to find a wife for their son, for his son Isaac. So the first thing he says is, do not take a wife of the Canaanites. Why? Because they have their own customs, and they're idolaters. So let's listen to what he says. And I will make thee swear by the Hamashiach of the Most High of heaven and the Most High of the earth, that thou shalt not take a wife unto my son of the daughters of the Canaanites, amongst whom I dwell. Okay. Hold on one second. All right, so where are we at here? Verse 4. But thou shalt go unto my country and to my kindred, and take a wife unto my son Isaac. So Abram sending his servant, his manservant, back to his family, to his father's house, to get what? A woman of his own, like of his auntie or of a cousin, for his son. Okay, so he's going back to his own kindred. So it says, and the servant said unto him, peradventure the woman will not be willing to follow me unto this land. Must I need bring thy son again unto the land from whence thou camest? And Abraham said unto him, beware thou, that thou bring not my son thither again. The Most High, of the Hamashiach of the Most High of heaven, which took me from my father house and from the land of my kindred, and which spoke unto me, and that swear unto me, saying, unto thy seed will I give this land. He shall send the angel before thee, and thou shalt take a wife unto my son from thence. Okay? And if the woman will not be willing to follow thee, then thou shalt be clear from this my oath. Only bring not my son thither again. So he's telling him, don't go the ways of the Canaanites. So he told Abraham that, and then again in Deuteronomy, Moses did the same thing. He told the children of Israel, don't take any wives of the Canaanites. Take someone from your kindred. Okay? Why? Because prophets come out of those, come out of our own people. Prophets, once you start mixing that seed, that prophet is not going to come out. It might come out 3 generations later or 4 generations later. Okay? And that's in the book of Numbers. It talks about that. Okay? So it doesn't mean that that child is not Israel. That child is still Israel, and that child still could go into the kingdom of heaven, you know, and the kingdom of heaven is on the earth. But it's just saying that the Most High has an order when it comes to his prophets and his priests and his kings. Okay? Yeah, remember, he made an oath with his people. He chose us out of all people on the earth to put his spirit in. Understand? Other people don't have the spirit that Israel has. That's what makes us rich. Remember Revelation 2:9, though I know thy works, you know, I know your poverty, but thou art rich. He's talking about our spirits. He didn't put these spirits in anybody. He only put it in his children, Israel. So that's why he wants us to remain. He wants that power to stay within our family line. So let's go to Leviticus 20. Leviticus 20, verse 22. Says here, ye shall therefore keep all my statutes and all my judgments, and do them, that the land whether I bring you to dwell therein spew you not out. And see, that's what's important. Remember, Adam got spewed out of the Garden of Eden. So the Most High is telling the children of Israel, when you go into this land, you keep my statutes and my commandments so you don't get kicked out of Israel. Okay? That's what we have to understand. Remember, he set the land up for during the time of Abraham, but Canaan dwelt there. So that land was already set up from the beginning. Canaan was just basically servants. They was tending to our land until we got there. It says, verse 23, and ye shall not walk in the manners of the nation which I cast out before you. So he's going to cast them out because they was already abominating that land. For they committed all these things, and therefore I abhorred them. So how do you feel the Most High is dealing with this land in America? Look at all the wicked things going on here. Okay? We're going to get into that. Okay, verse 24. But I have said unto you, ye shall inherit the land, and I will give it unto you to possess it, a land that floweth with milk and honey. I am the Hamashiach of the Most High, which have separated you from other people. Look at that. So he's coming for everybody? I don't think so. He separated us from all other people. Okay? Let's go to Leviticus chapter 20. See, that's what people, they underestimate the Most High. Let's go to the 26th verse. It says, and ye shall be holy unto me, for I, the Hamashiach, am holy, and have severed you from other people, that ye should be mine. So he's telling you again, the sever means to take a knife and cut something into two. He severed us away from something. Okay? So what did he sever us from? From all other peoples. We're the holy people, so we have to remain amongst ourselves. Alright? So he could dwell amongst us. Okay? Leviticus 18 to 24. Let's go there. So let's get into the defilement of the land. What defiles the land that we live in? How did we get kicked out of the land of Israel? Let's look. Leviticus 18 24. It says, defile not yourselves in any of these things, for in all these the nations are defiled, which I cast out before you. Okay, 25. And the land is defiled, therefore I do visit the iniquity thereof upon it, and the land itself vomit out her inhabitants. You see that? So just think about all these wicked places all around the earth, and just think about how the land is being defiled. It's being defiled in every way. You wonder why you see places like Arizona or Phoenix or Nevada, or over there in Africa, parts of the Sahara is just desolate. Okay? Now that Garden of Eden, it says that the Garden of Eden, that Adam had to flee east of the Garden of Eden. So where would that put the Garden of Eden? Somewhere in West Africa. Okay? So that Sahara Desert, look at the Sahara, look at the wilderness of that. That was once a lush place, the Sahara. But because of the wickedness of our people, that whole place is a desert. Okay? Same way with Israel. Look at Israel. Look how dry it is. Back when David was living, that place was lush. They had all kinds of animals there. Okay? They had everything you could think of. Now they have nothing. It's just empty. You got rodents, you got owls, you got all the animals of the wilderness there though. Okay? We're going back to Leviticus chapter 18 verse 25. And the land is defiled, therefore I do visit the iniquity thereof upon it, and the land itself vomit out her inhabitants. Ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, and shall not commit any of these abominations, neither any of your own nation, nor any stranger that sojourneth among you. So any of the nations that we take with us as servants, guess what? They got to keep the commandments too. They got to keep the Sabbath day. They can't be dressing up like a homosexual. Okay? They got to wear their beards. They got to, everything that Israel do, the heathens got to do if they're going to serve us. The exact same thing. Okay? We can't have them coming into the land bringing their gods with them. That's how we messed up in the first place. Okay, so it says here, verse 27, for all the abominations have the men of the land done, which were before you, and the land is defiled, that the land spew not you out also when ye defile it, as it spewed out the nations that were before you. See that? For whosoever shall commit any of these abominations, even the souls that commit them, shall be cut off from among their people. So the Most High is serious. He ain't playing. Alright? And this stuff still exists today. It says, therefore shall ye keep mine ordinance, that ye commit not any one of these abominable customs, which were committed before you, and that you defile not yourselves therein. I am the Hamashiach of the Most High. Okay? So he's telling you what we have to do. I mean, it's clear. It's very clear. Now let's look at some of the defilements. Let's find out some of the things that I guarantee you that they're doing here in America right now. Let's look at it. We're going to jump to the 18th verse and we're going to read down. Actually, let's jump to the verse 2 and 6 first. Verse 2 and 6. It says, Leviticus 18 verse 2. Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, I am the Hamashiach of the Most High. After the doings of the land of Egypt wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do, and after the doings of the land of Canaan, whither I bring you, shall ye not do. Neither shall ye walk in their ordinances. Ye shall do my judgments, and keep mine ordinances, to walk therein. I am the Most High your power. Ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, which if a man do, he shall live in them. I am the power. None of you shall approach to any of the any that is near of kin to him. In other words, you can't be sleeping with your first cousins, your second cousins, your third cousins. Okay, even though they got married to their second cousins back then, or their third cousins, because Israel, remember, they were few in number. Israel wasn't a very big nation. They were the smallest of all the nations that came out of Shem. Okay? Remember that. All the other nations, Ham was probably one of the biggest nations. Japheth's second. Then it was Shem. Okay. So where are we? Where we leave off at? Verse 6. None of you shall approach to any that is near of kin to him, to uncover their nakedness. I am the Most High. Okay, so that's one. Okay, we can mark that one off. Let's go to verse 8. The nakedness of thy father's wife shalt thou not uncover. It is thy father's nakedness. And that right there, you got brothers doing that today, looking at their father's wife. Like if father get married to a new wife, they'll be looking at their father's wife. And this happens in our nation because all you gotta do is look at King David. King David's son Absalom was checking out. Actually, he committed fornication, adultery with King David's wife on the rooftop. When you read 1 Samuel, okay. Let's go to verse 11. The nakedness of thy father's wife's daughter, begotten of thy father, thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. This goes on in our land. Okay. Verse 14, let's look at this one. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy father's brother. Thou shalt not approach to his wife. She is thine aunt. And that happens in our community too. All this stuff goes on behind closed doors. These are the secret sins that you don't hear about. This is the stuff that you don't hear about. Everybody got a cousin that try to do something with them growing up as a little kid. All right, that's prevalent in our communities. You know, verse 15. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy daughter-in-law. She is thy son's wife. Thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. So the father can't be hanging out with the son's wife. Let's get into something else. Let's go to 23. Look at this one. Neither shalt thou lie with any beast, okay, to defile thyself therewith. Neither shall any woman stand before a beast to lie down there too. It is confusion. In 26 states, they done made this a lawful thing in America. 26 states. Have y'all heard that? 26 states in America, this has been made lawful for a human being to sleep with the animal, which is just, I mean, that person, that's instant death, man. That's just instant death. I mean, just the thought of it. You know what I mean? Let's go to 22. Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is abomination. That's going on today. All right. This is a big one. Verse 21. And thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Molech, neither shalt thou profane the name of the Most High. I am the power. That one's idolatry. That's where we get our Christmas, Thanksgiving. These are gods. These are pagan gods. Idolatry. Okay? We do this every year, 7 times a year. All right? Verse 20, it says, Moreover, thou shalt not lie carnally with thy neighbor's wife, to defile thyself with her. That's still going on. All this stuff is still going on. This ain't nothing new under the sun. Nothing has changed. All the stuff is still here. And guess what? All these things that are mentioned here defile the land. So the land is defiled. It's cursed. So just imagine, we sitting here on the phone. This stuff is going on all around us right now as we speak. Cursing the land. You wonder why Oakland is so bad, because sin after sin after sin is piling up there. You got all the stuff going on amongst our people. You know, look at all the cities across the United States. All the stuff is going on amongst our people, which is defiling the land. Then on top of that, you take it further, you look at the American Indians being slaughtered. That defiled the land first and foremost. Then through slavery it was slaughtered. Defiled. Then through, the Sabbath days, that was defilement. Being hung on a tree longer than, Esau left us on the trees longer than a day or two. It says a man should not be hanged from a tree longer than a day. That's a law. We were hung on that tree longer than 3 days. Sometimes a whole month. They just forget about us. Animals are coming to eat us. The whole ground is cursed. Let's go to Numbers 35 and 34. So you see why we wasn't going to go back to Israel? Because we was abominating that land. We wasn't keeping the laws. Numbers chapter 35, verse 34. And before we get it right, before we go there, we got to get this right here while we're here in America. We got to get it right, keeping these laws. That's why it's so important. Brothers talking about, oh, you ain't got to keep the commandments. You better keep the commandments if you want to live, if you want to get out of here. Okay, Numbers 35, 34. Defile not therefore the land which ye shall inhabit, wherein I dwell, for I the power dwell among the children of Israel. And you wonder why the water is so bad here in America now. When the Indians lived here, when they dwelt here, in the book I got, James Adair, it said that the water tastes like sweet. It was sweet. Okay, the water was sweet. It had a taste to it. The water now don't taste like nothing. Okay, everything has been defiled. Okay, because the Indians, they respected the land. If they cut down the tree, they didn't cut down the whole forest. They just cut down one tree. You know, and then they replanted the trees that they cut down. You know, it had sense. Esau he just bulldozered a whole forest and put a strip mall in there. He don't care. You know, he starts stacking up the houses in there. You know, per lot, he getting taxes off of each house. You know, eminent domain. He just take a whole property, or you own a property, you try to sell it. I mean, you try to sell 1 acre. You might have 20 acres. You want to sell just 1 acre. Maybe go buy you a truck or something. Esau tell you, well, this is eminent domain. You can't sell 1 acre. You got to sell all your property if you want to sell it. Yeah, they make laws like that. All overnight they do that. Okay, he's crafty. Let's go to Jeremiah 16 and 18. So defilement of the land, he caused everything to be upside down. Jeremiah 16, verse 18. Dude, we got to get this right, man. Alright, I'm going to read Jeremiah 16 and 18. Listen to this. Jeremiah chapter 16, verse 18. And first I will recompense their iniquity and their sin double, because they have the...
Did you read that last scripture?
Which one? Numbers 35 and 34? Yeah, I read that. So we're going to go to Jeremiah 16 and 18. And first I will recompense their iniquity and their sin double, because they have defiled my land. They have filled my inheritance with the carcasses of their detestable and abominable things. See, so the Most High is telling you what the Gentiles are doing. He's putting.
Yeah, you did.
Which one? Numbers 35 and 34. Lahab, you there?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have you read in a minute, man. I need my reader in here.
Okay.
All right. I'll read.
Read 30.
Yeah, Numbers 35 and 34. Yeah, just read the whole thing all the way through.
That was the wrong order. 30.
I didn't remember you going over that, but...
Yeah, that's what I just went over. But we'll read it again. Read that out. Numbers 35 and 34.
Defile not therefore the land which ye shall inhabit, wherein I dwell, for I, the Lord, dwell among the children of Israel.
Right, so it says that he dwells amongst the children of Israel. So anywhere we go, guess what? If we defile the land, he said he gonna make it double upon double. Didn't he say that in the book of Revelation chapter 18? He says, pay them double for what they have done. That's what he says. He said, recompense them double upon double in the book of Revelation. So he's telling you, with sin multiplying upon sin, destruction is coming. Destruction is coming. Jeremiah 16 and 18. Get that? Jeremiah chapter 16 and 18.
Jeremiah first, I will recompense their iniquity and their sin double, because they have defiled my land. They have filled mine inheritance with the carcasses of their detestable and abominable things.
Right. So everything that goes on here, what's the abominable things? I mean, for one, we already know food. You know, the foods and stuff that we eat. You know, that's detestable. A lot of the foods are for sacrifices for these holidays, like turkey. You know, when it's not a defilement, what makes it a defilement is worshiping the gods. Right now, they're getting turkeys, let's say, at the end of summer. It takes about 3 to 4 months for a turkey to get full grown. So you figure, what's that, November, starting around August, they got them turkeys being hatched. They're getting them ready for Thanksgiving. All them turkeys, think about all those turkeys that they're getting ready for that sacrifice. Same thing with Christmas. You know, same thing. Most High gonna do the same thing there. You know, he gonna destroy it. That's why he's so mad at this place. That's why he's upset. You know, it's kind of scary when you really think about it. Him being quiet for over 2,000 years.
Has arrived.
Him being quiet for over 2,000 years is really saying how angry he is. You know, when a person get mad, they either get loud or they get quiet, and they just start, you know, meditating on all the stuff that happened. The Most High, that's what he's doing. He's meditating all the wickedness. That's why he said we're gonna recompense double on this man. You know, we're gonna recompense double. Give me Revelation 18:6. Let's see what he says in Revelation. Hold that verse though. Hold Jeremiah.
Hold Jeremiah, but Revelation?
Revelation 18. Yeah, hold Jeremiah and go to Revelation 18:6.
Revelation 18:6. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works, in the cup which she hath
Derived.
Read that last part again.
Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works, in the cup which she hath filled to her double.
Filled to her double. So the Most High is going to bring double destruction on this place. That's why when he come, that's why Ezra says, "Oh Lord, who will save me in that day?" Because Ezra saw the destruction of this place. When you read in the Apocrypha, he said, "Oh Lord, who will save me in that day?" Isaiah was like, he fell faint, fell on his face. All the prophets that saw the end of the Babylon, they're all fainted, man, all of them. Okay, they wasn't even there, and they saw it and they fainted. So you know it's going to be fearful when it comes. Okay, it said that all will tremble when he returns. You know. Go back to Jeremiah 16 and 18.
Say that again?
Go back to Jeremiah 16 and 18.
I got it. Oops.
Hey, you got some noise in the background?
Yeah, no,
Is that noise in your background?
No, I just had to push this out.
Okay.
Alright, I'm here, Jeremiah 6. You want me to go back to it?
Yeah, Jeremiah 16 and 18, yeah.
And first, I will recompense their iniquity and their sin double, because they have defiled my land. They have filled mine inheritance with the carcasses of their detestable and abominable things.
Right. So all the abominations that's going on here, they're going to have to pay, you know, they're going to have to pay double for what they've done. It's just like Sodom. It's the same thing. Okay? In Sodom, they kept doing all that wickedness, and eventually that's what happened. You know? He let the sins accumulate, and then he had to destroy the place. Same thing with what Nimrod did when he built the temple. You know? That was sin upon sin, because they all came together in one consent to go up against God, right? Up against the Most High. So it's the same thing that's going to happen again. He buildeth up nations, and he destroyeth them, says Job. Okay? So go to Deuteronomy 29 and 28.
Deuteronomy 29 and 28.
Right.
Deuteronomy 29 and 28.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I had to, 29 and 28. And the Lord, and the Most High rooted them out of their, and the Most High rooted them out of their land in anger, and in wrath, and in great indignation, and cast them into another land, as it is this day.
So why did he cast them out into another land? What was the whole reason for him doing that? Why? Because of the uncleanness that was going on in that land. All the idolatry, the homosexuality, the bestiality, you know, the sleeping with the cousins, with the sisters, the mamas, just like in the book of Corinthians. That's what Paul got upset about. Was it Ephesians or Corinthians? Paul got upset because they were having orgies in the church. Just like when we was out there speaking this past week, the woman that came up to us and told us that they're doing that same thing in West Oakland now, you know, in some of these churches, which is ridiculous. You know, it's the same thing. It's all repeating itself over again. It's the same stuff happening all over again. So that's why he rooted them out of the land, because it was either root them out or kill them. They only had two options: either get killed or get the Most High's mercy and get pushed out of that land. Just like Adam got pushed out of the land of the Garden of Eden. He got pushed out of that land. Why? Because he transgressed the laws. Okay? It's the same thing. So let's go to Luke. Go to Luke 19 and 41. Let's see what Hamashiach Yahushua did. Let's see how he handled it, because he was a prophet too. You know, he was not only our Messiah, he was not only our high priest, but he was also a prophet. He could tell you what was coming. So let's go to Luke chapter 19, verse 41.
And when he was come near, he beheld the city and wept over it.
He did what? He did what over it?
And wept over it.
He wept. Wept meaning he cried over that city. It didn't say he cried over the synagogue. It didn't say he cried over the temple. It said he cried over the city. And the reason why he cried over the city was because he could see, because of Jerusalem's unbelief and because they were abominating that land, that they was going to get cast out of that land. He knew that that was about to happen. Okay, read it again, Ak.
And when he was come near, he beheld the city and wept over it.
Come on.
Saying, if thou hadst known, even thou, at least in this thy day, the things which belong unto thy peace, but now they are hid from thine eyes.
Right, they are hid from thine eyes. They got the peace, they just don't know it. Okay? Read on.
So the day shall come upon thee, that thine enemies shall cast a trench about thee, and compass thee round, and keep thee in on every side.
And that happened, you can actually Google it, or if you have a book of Josephus, that was during the times of Masada. Masada was when the children of Israel, those who didn't run, those who didn't flee, got trapped in the city that King Herod had built. He built a retreat kingdom for himself, just in case the enemies came. And all the people fled to that place, and the Romans encamped around them and killed every one of them. The women, they were eating each other's babies. The men were eating the leather off their belts. They was eating the leather off their shoes just to stay alive, because they were being starved out. Okay? But those were the people that stayed. Those are the people that didn't listen. Okay? So let's find out what Christ told them to do. Hamashiach told them to do initially. Let's go to Matthew 24, verse 15. Matthew 24 and 15.
May I say something?
Hold on, I don't want to get off point. Is it regarding the lesson?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
where it says how they encompass thee around by every side and keep them in the black neighborhoods today, they still have that mentality. If you notice, at the edges of the black neighborhoods, there's always train tracks. If they don't put you in the middle of downtown, if you're towards the edge, they'll put you around train tracks. And then you'll be by a stadium also. Every large black neighborhood has train tracks. Why? Because if they need to block you in and encompass you around, they will use a train. There's nothing that you have that can move a train. You could probably ram a bus or break the windows and climb through, but you're not getting through a train. So that's what they still have that mentality to this day. They just keep it in their plan. And a lot of people aren't smart enough to stand back and look to see how, if they're going to do that today, how would they do it? And that's how they would do it. And they've done it before, and they also did it with Katrina.
Well, that's good. That's a good point. I mean, that's how when you look at the when you look at some of the old news about L.A., that's how they brought the guns into L.A. through the trains, you know. And also, if you look at the streets, you know, the way the streets are laid out, they were originally made for tanks in Germany. All the streets. You look at the freeways. Freeways weren't built. They weren't originally made for cars. They were made for tanks or airplanes flying in.
Airplanes.
Okay, so now, over a period of time, you know, the economy, what they call that, where they build up the economy. I can't think of it, but anyways, it's all part of the economy now. Now that they got you know, the freeways and the roads and stuff, now it's for cars, but prior to that it was for tanks and planes and stuff. Germany began that. Okay, so it's just something to make you think a little bit, you know, think outside the box a little bit. And that's a good point you brought about the black communities and the Latino communities, you know.
Yeah, still to that day.
Still to that day. Let's go. Where till you go? Matthew 24:15.
Right. Matthew 24:15. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet.
Stop right there. Stop right there. So it says, when ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation. Most people don't know what that is. You know, they read right over that, the abomination of desolation. Okay? And then he tells you, he backs it up. He says, which was mentioned by Daniel the prophet. So Daniel knew about it too. So this is why when you read the Bible and it gets to the book of Malachi in your Bible, it stops with the Persian captivity. And when you, like I said earlier, and then when you go to the New Testament, Matthew, it begins with the Roman captivity. So something's missing there. What's missing there? Okay?
The Greek captivity.
The Greek captivity. And the only place you're going to find the Greek captivity is in the book of Maccabees. And that's what they keep away. And that, when you read that, it tells you exactly who the abomination of desolation is. It's the Greeks, aka the Edomites. Okay? So let's go from there. Read on, all right? Read on.
15. Stand in the holy place. Whoso readeth, let him understand.
Whoso readeth. So he's giving you a clue. Okay? He couldn't see Hamashiach. He couldn't just come out and say it's the Romans. Because, you know, the Romans would kill you back then. You know, they didn't play like today with the police officers. The Romans, they were professionals at killing people. That's what they did for a living. You know, it was nothing for them to take out their sword and kill you or crucify you. So Hamashiach was very careful with his words. Okay? Read. Verse 16.
Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountain.
Right. So all those who were in Jerusalem, he gave them a sneak peek. Basically, he said, look, if you see those armies coming, flee to the mountains. That's what he said. What mountains is he talking about? Anybody know?
The ones in between Israel and Egypt. Dang, I don't know the name.
Yeah.
I can't even think of it.
That's okay.
I know the location.
Somebody else know?
The mountains of Africa is over here.
Yeah, it's just the mountain. It's the plains. It's actually right where Moses had stood when he was looking over into the land of Israel. When he couldn't go into the land, he had to stay on top of the mountain.
Right. There's a precept to that too, because it tells you that where did Yahweh Shah flee when Herod was going to kill Yahweh Shah?
Right.
Tried to kill Yahweh Shah.
Good point. Yeah.
Precept to that.
Right. That's in Matthew chapter 3. It talks about Matthew chapter 2. It talks about that when Hamashiach was a baby, his father and mother, they had to flee from Herod. Where did they go? They went into Egypt. Why did they go to Egypt? Because the people of Egypt were dark-skinned people, and Christ blended in with them. If the Romans is chasing you, wouldn't you stick out if you were amongst the Romans? You would have to go amongst your own people. So when he went amongst the Egyptians, and there was a lot of Israelites that stayed in Egypt back then. A lot of Jews was there, which were a lot of dark people. So that's where they went. That's a good precept, because it's showing you that Christ is telling you the same thing. Flee into the mountains, which is in Africa. Okay? Somebody else got a question?
You know, when the white CEOs or the really rich white people, when they, do something terrible, they do the same thing too, except they go to Europe and go to Switzerland and flee into those mountains.
Yeah, they go. That's right. No, you're right on point. In Switzerland especially, that's like a utopia in Switzerland.
Yeah, I mean, the more and more I read the Bible, and then I try to equate things to how people do things today, and then it makes me believe in the Bible even more. Like, if it could be more than 100%, then I'll be at those numbers.
Right.
I'm ready to read. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Let's go back into it.
But you guys need to get that precept down, because that's going to help you if you explain it to somebody in the scriptures when you're trying to break that down.
Yeah, we could get that.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's Matthew 2:16, I believe. Let me see.
Okay.
It's 13, 2 and 13.
2 and 13.
2 and 13.
Yeah, get that.
Matthew 2 and 13. And you want me to, here we go. And being warned of God in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed into their own country another way. In verse 13, and when they were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, Arise, and take the young child and his mother, and flee into Egypt.
Right.
And be thou there until I bring thee word. For Herod will seek the young child to destroy him.
To destroy him. So, who else lived in Egypt prior to Hamashiach going there? Who else blended in with Egypt? Anybody name me 2 other people that blended in with Egypt? I'm asking a question. Who else blended in? Who else was in Egypt that blended in? 2 other people. Well, actually, there's like 3 or 4 actually you could get, but should somebody name me?
Canaanites, the Hamites.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying of Israel.
Your forefathers,
yeah,
the family.
Right. Anybody know?
Are you talking about the 12 tribes? You talking about Joseph?
Joseph was one. Bingo. Ding, ding, ding. Okay, that's one. He looked just like an Egyptian, because his brothers didn't even recognize him when they came to him. Right? Because he not only was he dressed like Egyptian, but the Egyptians were all dark people. How could his brothers not recognize him if the Egyptians weren't dark? Or if Joseph wasn't dark?
He had his beard shaved.
Right, he had his beard shaved, he had his head probably was bald. Right. And they were all shepherds. They had long beards and a lot of hair. Okay, that was a custom. So who else was there that dwelt in Egypt? Moses, there it is. So Moses looked just like Egyptian. Joseph looked just like Egyptian. So why wouldn't Christ go into the land of Egypt? Because him and his family would look just like Egyptians. Okay? So that's a good precept to bring out. Let's go back to Matthew 24, verse 16.
Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountain.
Go ahead.
Let him, oh,
Read all the way to 20. Now, I may stop you in between, but go ahead.
let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house.
Uh-huh.
Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his. Benny Allen has left the contents.
Right. So it says, neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. Because when the Romans coming, man, look, you don't want to go back to your house when the Romans are coming to demolish it. They coming to kill everything in sight. Last thing you want to do is go back into the land. You know, go ahead.
And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days.
Come on.
And pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day.
Why I said neither on the Sabbath day?
Because we couldn't run, we had to observe the Sabbath.
Exactly. So, you know, when you look at this, most people today, when they read this, they think that this is going to happen here. Okay? But if it happens here, where can you run to? You can't run nowhere. Wherever you run, you're still going to be in America. Just like in Europe. You can't run nowhere from Europe. You're going to be there. So it's not talking about these times. It's specifically, these 6 verses is specifically talking about those times. Okay? Because they were fleeing. Most High is showing us how our forefathers fled into West Africa. Okay? Go ahead. Let's go. You read 20, Ak?
But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day.
Okay, most people miss that first part, but pray. We got to pray. Okay? Let's go to Deuteronomy 32 and 26. Deuteronomy 32 and 26. Because the whole reason why Hamashiach was telling these people to do this was because they had defiled the land. The whole land was defiled. They was worshiping other gods. They was doing stuff that the heathens was doing. That's the whole reason why the Romans came down to destroy them. There was God's hand on the Romans. He allowed them to do that. Do you think the Most High would allow that to happen if they were keeping the law, statutes, and commandments? It wouldn't have never happened. But because they were breaking God's laws, that's why he allowed the Romans to come in and destroy them. Okay? That's the same thing today. If you're not keeping the commandments, all hell's going to break loose. Okay? Go to Deuteronomy 32 and 26.
Deuteronomy 32 and
26.
26?
Yeah, 26.
And I said, I would scatter them into corners. I would make the remembrance of them to cease from among men.
Stop. So it says, I will scatter them into corners. What does he mean by the corners? Is he talking about the corners of Israel? Is he talking about the corners of Egypt? What corners?
Corners of the world.
Corners of the whole earth.
Of the earth.
Right,
Yeah.
That's right. They were scattered to the 4 corners of the earth. North, south, west, and east. Alright? So, north, south, west, and east, is that a square or is that a circle? Is that a square or is that a circle? North, west, south, and east. 4 corners. That's a circle. It's a circle. The whole earth, the earth is not a square. It's not flat. The earth is a circle, right? North, south, west, and east. He said the 4 corners. That's just the Most High's jargon. That's how he speaks.
I thought the earth was a sphere, but okay, it's a circle.
It's a circle. I mean, when you look at it, it's a circle. Okay?
Nah, I'm just... I know.
Okay. Hold on. No. I got something for you, man. I got something for you. Since you want to be funny, go to Isaiah 40 and 22. No. Let's get that. Let's get that. Isaiah 40 and 22.
I'm here. 40 and
22.
Yep.
Read that.
Wait. There is no 40 and 42.
40 and 22.
Oh, 40 and 22.
Yeah, read that.
Isaiah 40, verse 22. It is,
When I read this scripture,
Hold on, Victoria.
I thought it was a split there.
Hold on, Victoria. Hold on. Read that out.
it is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth.
Wait a minute. What did that say? The what of the earth?
The circle of the earth.
The circle of the earth. He didn't say sphere. He said the circle of the earth. And who sitteth above the circle of the earth? The Most High. So, I mean, that's play, right? You can read the whole verse. Go ahead.
And the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers.
I'm not saying things.
Huh? All right, go ahead.
And the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers, that stretcheth out the heavens as a curtain, and spreadeth them out as a tent to dwell in.
Okay, so the Most High, he's being poetic with it. Okay, he's being very poetic. He's a poetic power, man. That's where we get our poeticness. We rap, we do all that stuff. Where do you think we get it from? Go to 2 Kings 17 and 6. Let's find out if there's other examples showing how the children of Israel were cast out of that land. We're going to go to 2 Kings 17 and 6.
In the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria took Samaria and carried Israel away into Assyria. And placed them in Halah, in Habor, by the river of Gozan, in the cities of the Medes.
Right, in the city of the Medes. Now, those were the Persians, the Medes. Okay, and this was actually the Ethiopians. This is their lineage. Okay, the Ethiopians were dwelling in that land as well. They were the ones who came into this land, the Samaritans, the Sumerians. Okay, so let's go from there, jump to 7 and read to 13.
For so it was that the children of Israel had sinned against the Lord their God, the Most High their power, which had brought them up out of the land of Egypt from under the hand of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, and had feared other gods.
And have feared who?
Other gods.
Right, so they wasn't fearing the Most High, they was fearing these guys today. The Buddhas and, you know, all these crazy things, man. They was fearing the wrong gods, man. The Jainism and Scientology, they was fearing those gods. All right, go ahead.
And walked in the statutes of the heathen, whom the Most High cast out from before the children of children of Israel, and of the kings of Israel, which they had made.
All right, come on.
And the children of Israel did secretly those things that were not right against the Most High their power. And they built them high places in all their cities, from the tower of the watchman to the fenced city.
That's still going on today. Look at our communities. Look at all the different temples on every corner. It's the same thing. They're still building those temples all over the place, right across from liquor stores. Go ahead.
And they set them up images in groves in every high hill, and under every green tree.
Okay. Come on.
And there they burnt. Oh, stop.
No, go ahead.
Oh, and there they burnt incense in all the high places.
Okay, let's stop right there, because when you read verse 10, just so people don't get lost, it says that they set them up. That's a good precept, because it's showing you that Christ is telling you the same thing: flee into the mountains, which is in Africa. Okay, somebody else got a question?
You know, when the white CEOs or the really rich white people, when they do something terrible, they do the same thing too, except they go to Europe and go to Switzerland and flee into those mountains.
Yeah, they go. That's right. No, you're right on point. Switzerland especially. That's like a utopia. in Switzerland.
Yeah, I mean, the more and more I read the Bible, and then I try to equate things to how people do things today, and then it makes me believe in the Bible even more. Like, if it could be more than 100%, then I'll be at those numbers.
Right.
I'm ready to read. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Let's go back into it.
Yeah, but you guys need to get that precept down, because that's going to help you if you explain it to somebody in the scriptures when you're trying to break that down.
Yeah, we can get that.
Yeah, let them know.
It's Matthew 2:16, I believe. Let me see.
Okay.
It's 13, 2 and 13.
2 and 13.
2 and 13.
Yeah, get that.
Matthew 2 and 13. And you want me to, here we go. And being warned of God in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed into their own country another way. In verse 13, and when they were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, Arise, and take the young child and his mother, and flee into Egypt.
Right.
And be thou there until I bring thee word. For Herod will seek the young child to destroy him.
To destroy him. So, who else lived in Egypt prior to Hamashiach going there? Who else blended in with Egypt? Anybody name me 2 other people that blended in with Egypt? I'm asking a question. Who else blended in? Who else was in Egypt that blended in? 2 other people. Well, actually, there's like 3 or 4 actually you could get, but can somebody name me?
Canaanites, the Hamites.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying of Israel.
Your forefathers,
the
family.
Right. Anybody know?
What are you talking about? Are you talking about the 12 tribes? You talking about Joseph?
Joseph was one. Bingo. Ding, ding, ding. Okay, that's one. He looked just like an Egyptian, because his brothers didn't even recognize him when they came to him. Right? Because he not only was he dressed like Egyptian, but the Egyptians were all dark people. How could his brothers not recognize him if the Egyptians weren't dark? Or if Joseph wasn't dark?
He had his beard shaved.
Right, he had his beard shaved, he had his head probably was bald. Right. And you know, they were all shepherds. They had long beards and a lot of hair. Okay, that was a custom. So who else was there that dwelt in Egypt? Moses, there it is. So Moses looked just like Egyptian. Joseph looked just like Egyptian. So why wouldn't Christ go into the land of Egypt? Because him and his family would look just like Egyptians. Okay? So that's a good precept to bring out. Let's go back to Matthew 24, verse 16.
Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountain.
Go ahead.
Let him... Oh.
Read all the way to 20. Now I may stop you in between, but go ahead.
Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his... Alan has left the contents.
Right. So it says, neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. Because when the Romans coming, man, look, you don't want to go back to your house when the Romans are coming to demolish it. They coming to kill everything in sight. Last thing you want to do is go back into the land. You know, go ahead.
And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days.
Come on.
And pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day.
Why I said neither on the Sabbath day?
Because we couldn't run, we had to observe the Sabbath.
Exactly. So, you know, when you look at this, most people today, when they read this, they think that this is going to happen here. Okay? But if it happens here, where can you run to? You can't run nowhere. Wherever you run, you're still going to be in America. Just like in Europe. You can't run nowhere from Europe. You're going to be there. So it's not talking about these times. It's specifically, these 6 verses is specifically talking about those times. Okay? Because they were fleeing. Most High is showing us how our forefathers fled into West Africa. Okay? Go ahead. Let's go. You read 20, Ak?
But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day.
Okay, most people miss that first part, but pray. We gotta pray. Okay, let's go to Deuteronomy 32 and 26. Deuteronomy 32 and 26. Because the whole reason why Hamashiach was telling these people to do this was because they had defiled the land. The whole land was defiled. They was worshiping other gods. They was doing stuff that the heathens was doing. That's the whole reason why the Romans came down to destroy them. There was God's hand on the Romans. He allowed them to do that. Do you think the Most High would allow that to happen if they were keeping the law, statutes, and commandments? It wouldn't have never happened. But because they were breaking God's laws, that's why he allowed the Romans to come in and destroy them. Okay? That's the same thing today. If you're not keeping the commandments, all hell's going to break loose. Okay? Go to Deuteronomy 32 and 26.
Deuteronomy 32 and
26.
26?
Yeah, 26.
And I said, I would scatter them into corners. I would make the remembrance of them to cease from among men.
Stop. So it says, I will scatter them into corners. What does he mean by the corners? Is he talking about the corners of Israel? Is he talking about the corners of Egypt? What corners?
Corners of the world.
Corners of the whole earth.
Of the earth.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. They were scattered to the four corners of the earth. North, south, west, and east. All right. So, north, south, west, and east, is that a square or is that a circle? Is that a square or is that a circle? North, west, south, and east. Four corners. That's a circle. It's a circle. The whole earth, the earth is not a square. It's not flat. The earth is a circle, right? North, south, west, and east. He said the four corners. That's just the Most High's jargon. That's how he speaks.
I thought the earth was a sphere, but okay, it's a circle.
It's a circle. I mean, when you look at it, it's a circle. Okay?
Nah, I'm just... I know.
Okay. Hold on. No. I got something for you, man. I got something for you. Since you want to be funny, go to Isaiah 40 and 22.
Oh.
No. Let's get that. Let's get that. Isaiah 40 and 22.
I'm here. 40 and
22.
Yep.
Read that.
Wait. There is no 40 and 42.
40 and 22.
Oh, 40 and 22.
Yeah, read that.
Isaiah 40, verse 22. It is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth.
Wait a minute. What did that say? The what of the earth?
The circle of the earth.
The circle of the earth. He didn't say spear. He said the circle of the earth. And who sitteth above the circle of the earth? The Most High. So, I mean, that's play, right? You can read the whole verse. Go ahead.
And the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers.
I'm not saying.
Huh? All right, go ahead.
And the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers, that stretcheth out the heavens as a curtain, and spreadeth them out as a tent to dwell in.
Okay, so the Most High, he's being poetic with it. Okay? He's being very poetic. He's a poetic power, man. That's where we get our poeticness. We rap, we do all that stuff. Where do you think we get it from? Go to 2 Kings 17 and 6. Let's find out if there's other examples showing how the children of Israel were cast out of that land. We're going to go to 2 Kings 17 and 6.
In the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria took Samaria and carried Israel away into Assyria. And placed them in Halah, in Habor, by the river of Gozan, in the cities of the Medes.
Right, in the city of the Medes. Now, those were the Persians, the Medes. Okay, and this was actually the Ethiopians. This is their lineage. Okay, the Ethiopians were dwelling in that land as well. They were the ones who came into this land, the Samaritans, the Sumerians. Okay, so let's go from there, jump to 7 and read to 13.
For so it was that the children of Israel had sinned against the Lord their God, the Most High their power, which had brought them up out of the land of Egypt, from under the hand of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, and had feared other gods.
And have feared who?
Other gods.
Right, so they wasn't fearing the Most High, they was fearing these guys today. The Buddhas and, you know,
Has left the contact.
all these crazy things, man. They was fearing the wrong gods, man. The Jainism and Scientology, they was fearing those gods. All right, go ahead.
And walked in the statutes of the heathen, whom the Most High cast out from before the children of Israel, and of the kings of Israel, which they had made.
All right, come on.
And the children of Israel did secretly those things that were not right against the Most High their power. And they built them high places in all their cities, from the tower of the watchman to the fenced city.
That's still going on today. Look at our communities. Look at all the different temples on every corner. It's the same thing. They still building those temples all over the place, right across from liquor stores. Go ahead.
And they set them up images and groves in every high hill, and under every green tree.
Okay. Come on.
And there they burnt. Oh, stop.
No, go ahead.
Oh, and there they burnt incense in all the high places.
Okay, let's stop right there, because when you read verse 10, just so people don't get lost, it says that they set them